you'd be surprised how arrogant they are, despite the fact that they're going to get less money than the conference that you guys were making fun of. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA College Football, subscribe to this channel right now. I also do some pro football, college football, and Madden videos as well. Please hit that subscribe button. It's free to you, helps me out a lot. Okay, I'm close, man. I got that watch time up, got everything going on. Just need the subs. The quest for 1K, baby. The quest for 1K. So like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, here we are. I'm videotaping this on a Sunday here, and I'm watching my boy John Kurtz. For those of you who don't know who John Kurtz is, he is a Kansas State specialist, but he's a member of the media. He does a really solid job out there in the Kansas City area. John Kurtz with a Z. Go follow him and subscribe him. He does a really, really good job talking about college football, talking about realignment, in addition to talking about the Kansas State Wildcats. But he was basically saying that he was reading some reports that it looks like right now that the Big 12, their new TV deal could be at or just a little bit above the Pac-12's new TV deal. Now, again, right now, the Pac-12 is currently going through negotiations. The Big 12 is kind of finishing up theirs, so that's what it's looking like for them. Now, remember, the Big 12 added those 4 members from the group of 5 and independent ranks: Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and BYU, whereas the Pac-12, now at 10 members, again, remember that whole situation where we had the Big 12 at 10 members, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they lost USC and UCLA to the Big 10, and now they're sitting at 10. That being said, so I've read so many different graphics and this and that. I'm telling you right now, I have learned more in the last couple weeks about TV analysis and competitive viewing and things like that, and TV windows, more than I would ever hope to have tried to learn on my own. But I want to bring up a couple graphics here because I think that there was something that John Kurtz said that I want to reference later on, but I want to give context for it first. Let's get into that context real quick. So here we are with Kelly Ford at KFord Ratings at Twitter. So he says, here's a look at how my numbers view the future composition of the Big 12 conference and the Pac-12 from a football-only perspective. It says right here, from the average program KFord rating 2018 to 2021. And remember with that also includes 2020, which could skew the numbers for the Pac-12 because they played a very, very shortened schedule. But a power rating scale from 0 to 100 with 50 representing the FBS average, designed to be purely predictive or forward-looking, not a resume metric. So again, I don't know how scientific this is, but basically it shows here the fact that in those 4 years, 18, 19, 20, and 21, although technically it's like 3.5, Iowa State's sitting there at the top with the Big 12 average of 66.6. No, all right, save us Jesus. And then the Pac-12 average is 59.3, so both above the FBS average. But you see the fact that Utah's at the top there, and Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, Washington State, Stanford, and then down there at the bottom is Arizona with a 30. Whereas, gosh, you can just look at the Big 12 at the bottom. Sorry, Kansas 18. You do a great job in basketball, but not there. But that being said, I also was able to see this. So the narrative between the Big 12 and Pac-12 right now is the fact that the Big 12 is hurting the Pac-12, according to the Pac-12. George Kliavkoff is basically saying, oh, they're just throwing grenades, they're doing this and that. But there was this tweet below that actually brought, kind of, how do I say, brought context to what's going on right now, because everybody sees out there the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are kind of going at war, because I think they both see the fact that one of them is not going to survive, and one of them probably is, but it depends on what the Big 10 wants. Let's go ahead and see that tweet so it gives you context for what we're talking about. So here we are. It says 2010, Pac-12 raids Big 12, Colorado. 2011, Big 10 raids Big 12, Nebraska. 2011, SEC raids Big 12, Mizzou. 2012, SEC raids Big 12, Texas A&M. 2021, SEC raids Big 12, Texas A&M and Oklahoma. And 2022, Big 10 raids Pac-12, USC and UCLA. And then the Pac-12 commissioner, George Kliavkoff, says, this is the Big 12's fault. No, in reality, if we really want to get technical here, basically this is all Texas's fault. Now, I know that this one right here was because they kind of, I heard a lot of people talk about this, where Colorado almost always felt like a West Coast school, despite the fact they were in the Big 8 and then the Big 12. Nebraska, I mean, they made a ton of money to get to the Big 10. Missouri and Texas A&M. I know Texas A&M specifically was, screw Texas, let's get out of here. And then Texas and Oklahoma reaching out to the SEC to add to them. And then UCLA and USC reaching out to the Big Ten to add to them too. So yeah, so George Kliavkoff, he's a little threatened because I think right now, again, it looks like the Pac-12 has a slightly worse economic outlook than the Big 12, despite the fact that I think the Pac-12, and I'm telling you right now, they do not underestimate Pac-12 arrogance. I think they think they're super, super awesome in every single way. And again, a lot of them are AAU institutions, R1 research institutions. They do a really good job there, but they are like, oh, we don't want to go to the Big 12 or take from there. There's a JV conference. You'd be surprised how arrogant they are, despite the fact that they're going to get less money than the conference that you guys were making fun of. But the last thing here I want to bring up was this, because like I said, this battle between these two, ultimately it needs to stop. I think John Kurtz even kind of hinted at that. But again, there's one more metric that we have to go over. So this was posted on August 5th. This is from HeartlandCollegeSports.com. Sports Illustrated writer ranks Big 12 ahead of Pac-12. Kind of talking about this down here. Pat Ford of Sports Illustrated ranks the Big 12 ahead of the Pac-12 in a mailbag related to conference realignment on Friday at SI.com. So you see where he basically says SEC is number 1, Big 10 is number 2. He says ACC is number 3. He has the Big 12 at 4 and even admitted that the league and the Pac-12 could have been tied, but he wrote that ties are cop-outs, so he ranked Big 12 ahead of the Pac-12. Why? It's all about proven ability to survive. The Big 12 has already shown it can survive a poaching of its top programs by making some savvy additions for 2023, BYU, Central Florida, Cincinnati, and Houston. While the league doesn't really have any A-listers, the B list is lengthy and balanced and not really upwardly mobile, providing a strange level of comfort. Yormark has shown some early flash. Can he back it up with some strong moves to bolster the league's standing? Basically what he's saying is that, so Yormark has got a good situation because the Big 12, it has a ton of B programs and nobody really is obvious to be poached by the SEC or the Big 10 at this point. It looks like, though, that the Pac-12 has some big markets and big brands. Washington and Oregon potentially get Stanford to couple them with Notre Dame. But beyond that, I mean, the four corner schools are going to have a hard time staying together. Washington State and Oregon State are absolutely screwed. Things can only get worse for them from here. But he basically says down here that early indications are that the conference, the Pac-12, can keep its current 10 members from splintering, although that solidarity might only be as strong as the Big Ten's appetite for further expansion. 100%. The Pac-12 still has several major media markets and its late-night programming niche, which are good, but it doesn't have much in the way of attractive expansion targets, and any further rating of its members could prove fatal. So like he said, the Big Ten's appetite is basically the only thing. If the Big Ten isn't hungry, the Pac-12 stays together. If the Big Ten gets hungry, the Pac-12 is going to absolutely positively dissolve as fast as possible. But John Kurtz basically said that we're kind of in a holding pattern here, that we're waiting for the Big Ten's media deal. That's going to be the next thing happening here, because let's be honest here, they're calling the shots, they're making the most money. What happens with their media deal? If they go to that deal and they're like, we're going to give you this, but if we get this market, this market, and this market by this next deal by 4 years from now, perfect, that'll be great for us. But if not, they're like, 16, I will let you know. I actually I'm going to make a video about the potentials of streaming, how that could throw a huge wrench into this whole situation. But 16 is a really easy number. At a 9-game conference schedule, you play everybody every 2 years, in addition to playing everywhere, every single place, every 4 years, and having 3 protected rivals every single season. So 16 is a really safe number, and you see the fact they expanded to 16. Asked Notre Dame, they said no. So that's what we're doing right now. But ultimately, I think that the Pac-12 and the Big 12, I think they both see the blood in the water, and they're a little nervous. But that's what we have right now. That's the report of the situation. I hope that they come to some sort of peace. Ultimately, I want my Boise State to get invited to one of them. It's not going to be the Pac-12. I know it's not. Hopefully the Big 12 calls. You never know. But we'll see what happens. If the Big 10 gets hungry, we will see these two go at it again. But if not, I suspect that the Pac-12 will probably remain at 10. And I think that will be extremely choosy if they were to add a couple of members. They have to be solid institutions. They have to be R1 research institutions, and possibly even AAU institutions too. So they have to satisfy those requirements. But man, I think that's where we're at right now. We're in a holding pattern. Like I said, I got a really good video going on later in this week. It's going to be a really, really good one to kind of break down a lot more of this stuff in depth. But for right now, that looks like where we're at. We're waiting for Kevin Warren to see how hungry he is. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow. I am out.